What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Think Different Theory. My name is Josh Forti, and today we have, well, let's see, a very friendly, outgoing, and, the OG free mama. Catherine Jones has referred to her as a woman of the people. She has, as she says, checked off all the things that successful people are supposed to do, right? She's got her 2 Comma Club award. She's a best-selling author. She has a community of an audience of raving fans. She has a YouTube channel. She follows Russell Brunson. She is the OG free mama. Lauren, thank you so much for. I guess I didn't even say your last name. Thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's Golden, like the sun. Lauren Golden.
So do you go by Lauren Golden or Lauren, is it Marty Golden? Is that where did I see that come up?
I don't. Probably on my Facebook, but that's just
yeah.
like, that was my name back in the day and I just never changed it.
And that's where we're at here today now.
That's where we're at here today. We're too lazy to change it. So you can call me when I'll probably respond.
Perfect. Well, first off, thank you so much for coming on. This is going to be so much fun. I have no idea where this conversation is going to go, guys, to be quite honest with you.
I don't either, but I'm just excited to get started.
Yes. All right. So let's dive into this. Let's see. How do we know each other? Because I met you I heard about you through Catherine, who we've had on the show now twice. She was back on in season 1, and now she was like the 3rd or 4th person I interviewed for season 2. She's awesome.
She is awesome. She's one of my favorite people ever.
Wow. Well, apparently Russell Brunson too.
Well, okay, but here's the deal. So how long ago was this now? Maybe 2 weeks ago. This is fresh. This is like Corona fresh.
Okay.
So about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was in like the meltdown stage of isolation at home with 3 small children and homeschooling and all of this stuff. And I reached out to her because I had some stuff going on in my business, but it just was it was like the accumulation of all the things, right? And I called her, I FaceTimed her. So she knew it was important. This wasn't like a DM. This wasn't like a Voxer message. I straight up FaceTimed her.
Okay, can we pause real quick for a second here?
Yeah.
Let's guys, we got to give you a little context about Catherine. Catherine is way hard to get a hold of. Well, yes, that too, but way hard to get a hold of, right? Yeah. So like when you want to get a hold of Catherine, you either have to apparently FaceTime her, or like you send her an email, you DM her on Facebook, you DM her on Voxer, you DM her on Instagram, and you DM her assistant, and she might get back to you within an hour or 2. All right. Otherwise, it's like 2 or 3 weeks. So just for context, she must have known it was important.
Also, I think in general, like as humans, we have escalating senses of urgency in our way we communicate with people, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Like, oh, I just got a question. Like I'd send her a Vox, right? But this was like, I need you right now.
Right.
So I FaceTimed her. She answered. I was floored. I didn't think she would answer. Anyway, long story short, I actually had to cut her off, even though I called her, because I had another call coming in that I had to deal with, which was part of the reason I was upset. I joke you not, within the hour, she had a dozen cupcakes delivered to my front door. That's the kind of friend Catherine Jones is.
Wow.
Like during lockdown, like it was the best thing. I was just like, this is how you pick friends. Like you're up there, Catherine Jones.
Yes.
She's
she shout out to her. She's the one that pushed me in the right direction and pushed me over the edge to work with Katie Richardson, who has just, oh my gosh. Guys, if you're listening right now, Katie, well, I don't know when this is actually going to air, but at this current time, Katie is taking on 2 more clients. She has room for 2. Give her all of your money. Go take out a loan. Like seriously, like just go and do it. So shout out there. And so anyway, we get introduced through Catherine, and I hear all these amazing things about you and how like you're amazing, and you're one of her favorite people in the you're one of her favorite people in the whole world. You were going to speak at her event, still are, question mark?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I /am, yes.
So tell us who you are and what you do and why you're famous and awesome and amazing.
I thought we were still going to talk about other people, which for some reason is always so much easier to do, right?
We can talk about other people later. I'm sure we will. Okay. But for now, we have to get to know the context about the person we're talking with.
I love it. Okay, I am a wife. I'm a mom of 3. I live in the burbs, so I'm one of those. I'm out in Katy, Texas, which is outside of Houston, and I love it because I have my big SUV. And
of course you do.
So yeah, so that's me. And I am kind of an entrepreneur by default, I guess I should say. I was always entrepreneurial as a child, but I really suppressed it because that's kind of what I think society tells us to do. So I went to school, got really good grades. I went to college, I got a job, I got paid crappy, but I worked really hard, realized I was smarter than everyone else there. But it really wasn't until I had a daughter, my first daughter, my oldest, I now have 3, that I really started to question the choices that I had made, and more importantly, why. Like, why, how did I get here in this place of not being stoked with how my life is going?
Yeah.
And so I revisited those entrepreneurial things I had done as a as a child. I used to write children's books, like, and try to like sell them to my friends. I lived on a golf course growing up. Oh. I'm waiting for you to say, of course you did.
Of course you did.
Out in the suburbs.
Of course you did. Yes.
But here's what I used to do. And I'm talking at like 7, 8 years old. I used to go collect the balls that would get hit into our, like on our property by accident. And I would set up a shop on my side of the fence on the golf course, and I would sell them back
to them.
That's literally the introduction to my book, is this story about how I made hundreds of dollars as a 7-year-old. It started with golf balls, but then I started stealing beer and soda from my parents. And until they caught on, I made a lot of money that summer. So I think I had these roots. I kind of had it in my blood. But again, I kind of suppressed it until it became out of necessity, right? Like for me, it was like, I have to get out of the 9 to 5. But my young family, I was 25 when I had my first child, and our young family relied on 2 incomes. But I realized the 9 to 5 wasn't working for me. And so I knew self-employment was the path to living a life that was going to be fulfilling and lucrative for me and my family. When I started, I had no idea what that was going to look like.
That's super interesting. And 25 years old is not, I wouldn't say that's young to have a child by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I wouldn't say it's
geographical. So I'm curious where you were born and raised, because where I was like the youngest of all my friends to get married and have kids by about 5 years.
Really? Because like I have friends that have kids at 19.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah, 19 and 20.
That wasn't a thing.
That wasn't a thing. Okay, so you were the younger one.
Now I was young. Yeah. Now you're making me feel old, but yes, I was very young.
Hey, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm 26 and kids are a while away. So I agree. You were the younger one in the community there. So, okay.
Don't wait long, because in your 30s, like, you start to have like back pain and like life gets hard. I'm just saying.
Hey, listen, my girlfriend says she wants to wait till 30. So I'm going to leave that decision to her, because
awesome.
quite frankly, like I'll provide, and she's the one that's got to go through it, not me. So I just support her in any way that I can. Right. So what is your transition then into entrepreneurship look like? Actually, like, do this for me. Tell us what you do now.
Yes.
And then like back up and like pick up that story, and then like connect the dots of like how you got into leading into that.
I love it. Okay. So now I run a $1 million company called The Free Mama. I have 9 people on my team. My main offer inside of my business is a 12-week program. I also have kind of coaching on the upside of that. I have a lower ticket membership. And then, some stuff in between. I do have a book. So I've got the free plus shipping book funnel and all that kind of fun stuff going on. The mission of what I do really stems from kind of the story I was telling you earlier. And that's to make sure that no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. So what I teach is what I did, so I can connect the dots for you. I tried a lot of different things. I tried network marketing. I tried blogging. I tried surveys. I tried secret shopping. I always joke, if you've ever Googled how to make money from home, I have done it. But for me, it wasn't until I found the world of freelancing, which for anybody who is a newbie, I'll just break it down for you. It's kind of like a job, except you're not an employee. So you're basically a service provider. You can call yourself an entrepreneur, a small business owner. I'm not really one for all that stuff, because I just think it's all semantics. Whatever makes you feel good and brings money in at the end of the day, go nuts, call yourself whatever. But for me, I referred to myself as a freelancer. I started as a social media manager. I was a success story of the first iteration of Liz Benny, who is a success story of Russell Brunson, who you already mentioned. So back in 2015, I bought Social Monkey Business, which was her first $1 million course. And that was supposed to teach you to start like a social media agency, which I had no desire to do. I just needed to make a couple $1,000s a month so I could leave my job. That's how I started. I'm like, I got 2 babies now. I got to get home. That's what I'm doing. But as you probably know, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners do, we just don't know what we don't know. Like, at this time in my life, I had never heard of a business coach. I had no idea. Like, I had bought a course, and yet for some reason, like, it never crossed my mind that was something I could do someday. Like, I wasn't ready for it, right? Like, I was where I was. And so follow the breadcrumbs for a few years. Turns out I was really good at freelancing. And the one really big downfall that my family had was when we relocated from Kansas City to Houston. And I had been working with a lot of small brick and mortar businesses back in Kansas City. And when we moved, as their social media manager, I can now no longer go in and get the assets I needed to market their business online. And I lost all of my clients but one.
Wow.
I was 12 weeks pregnant with our third child. We moved to Houston, which if you've never been here, it's warm, in June of 2016. And I was 12 weeks pregnant. It was, and I lost all my clients. I basically was starting my business over again. It was horrible. Like Corona almost is like easy compared to what that summer felt like in my world. Like it was really, really hard. But again, I learned some stuff, and like we do, we learn stuff usually through like the crappy stuff, right? Like the hard stuff is what teaches us. So I had gotten really good at freelancing. And when I moved down here, one of the first people I networked with was a business coach. And I was like, wait, that's a thing. I'm like, that's a job. Like people do that. I don't understand. And so I started working for her, but it was really one of those, like, I just solved her problems. I'm like, what do you need help with? I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to learn because I saw so much potential. So I worked through this. I worked as a virtual assistant. I became her online business manager before I had ever even I didn't even know an online business manager was a thing, but I was doing it. And then all of a sudden I saw it online one day and I'm like, oh, I do that. Like, that's a thing. Okay, cool. So I really learned a lot of different skills. I learned how to build ClickFunnels, got paid for it from my clients. So I learned how to do all of these different things, edit podcasts, edit videos for her online course. So by the time all of these mom friends of mine started noticing what I was doing on social media and kind of coming through the woodwork, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, are you a stay-at-home mom? Or are you making money? Like, can you tell me how to do that? Like, I want to do that. And that's when I started getting all these light bulb moments of like, oh my gosh, what if this whole free mama thing, because I'd already called myself that, like the brand came before the business, the mission came before the business. It's just when it started, it was about me. It was like, I needed to find this. I needed to figure out. And then I had kind of this moment in 2017 where it flipped the mirror, right? I was like, wow, this isn't about me at all. Like this has the ability to really impact millions of people's lives. Like this idea that you can sustain yourself as a service provider working from home. And the barrier for entry is really incredibly low. If you have a computer, you have Wi-Fi, I guarantee you, because I work primarily with moms, if you've kept a human alive, you have basic skills that an entrepreneur would pay you money for. Checking emails, booking appointments, like it's not rocket science. And then much like I did, you just kind of grow and evolve from there, but you can get paid to learn this stuff.
Yeah, and I think
job connecting dots.
Yeah, no, that's super good. Yeah, no, that's super good. And I think one of the things that really stuck out to me there, that like right there at the end, right, is like when you're first getting started as a freelancer, as a a free mama, as whatever you're doing, right? Yeah. Like a lot of times, either the person that you're looking to become, well, in this case, let's say they're your client at this point, but like they're a business owner, right? Either already has the systems and processes in place for you to step in, and they just need someone to do it, right?
Yep.
And what they're looking for is reliability and consistency, and that you're going to do a good job. And I know this because I have hired many people like for those type of positions and jobs, right? And on the flip side, if they don't have that, if it is a newer entrepreneur, they're looking for someone that's basically just hungry and is willing to come in and figure it out. And so you just basically decide, like, am I someone that wants to work with people that already have everything established, or am I like kind of a go-getter and want to figure it out with them? And then you just kind of find the person. And I think people overcomplicate that a lot. It's like, oh my gosh, who am I? Like, let me tell you what, as the entrepreneur that has made over $1 million, that has worked with high level clients, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing. And my clients that make millions of dollars are still trying to figure out what they're doing, right? And it's just like, we're all just at different levels of the game. And when you realize that, all of a sudden it becomes it's much easier to step in and actually be good at what you do. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. One of the things I love is the evolution of this game too. It's like, I think one of the things I see, especially with women, because again, that's mainly who I'm working with in conversation with every day, is they think everything has to be perfect, or they have to know everything before they start. And it's like, it's kind of two different responses. Like for it has to be perfect. Well, guess what? Your version of perfect, even if that were attainable, might not be meeting their expectations, because they might want something totally different, no better, no worse, but different. So get better at communicating, get better at understanding people's expectations rather than this ideal of perfectionism that doesn't exist. And I love that you touched on this idea of figure it out, because that's actually something I say in my course over and over. If you have a willingness to figure things out, you can be successful.
Yeah, 100%.
No one knows everything. No one.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
Well, what's funny is you say this definition of perfection, right? I just interviewed Alex Sharfin, Alex Sharfin, business coach, talk about business coaching. I mean, he's coached Russell Brunson and Steve Larson and, Brad Gibb and like big, billion-dollar companies even he's been this coach for. And he was like, the only type of business that's perfect is one that's closed. And if you ever achieve perfection in your work, then you no longer are needed, right? So it's like you want to build a business, you want to become a type of person that can take problems and fix them and then go on to the next problem and the next problem and the next problem. And as Steve Larson teaches, like whenever you sell someone something, you are selling them a solution to a problem, right? Whatever that thing is, right? Like, but you are also creating new problems, right? So it's like, hey, look, I just sold you a car. I solved the problem of, you being able to commute somewhere or drive somewhere. But what other problems do you have? Well, you need to insure it, right? You need a place to store it. You need to keep it clean. You got to change the oil, right? All these are problems that you would have never had before until you had this thing. So it's like every time you do something, you go and create new problems. And going back to what you said of like, trust in your ability to figure things out, have a willingness to learn and grow. And I think that will solve, well, pretty much all your life problems.
Absolutely. And I think of myself, I was probably a really painful teenager to live with. Like I wasn't super naughty, but like we weren't perfect, but we got good grades, but we had a mouth, right? You know what I'm saying? I was that teenager. Yeah. So I was a little lippy. And I think part of it is, when I was 16, 17 years old, I think I thought I knew everything. I've got it figured out. I don't need my parents anymore. This is ridiculous. I'm ready to go. Like, you think you know everything. And now it's like I'm getting ready to celebrate a birthday on Monday. And it's like every year I get older, every new thing we start in my business, every time I hire someone, it's like I realize I know less and less every time I learn something new. And I think, when you're just starting, you think you got to know it all. You got to know every software. You got to know step 34 before you take step number 2. Like you think you got to know it all, but I think as soon as you do know it all, that's not possible. But as soon as you think you do, you kind of lose too, because you're not going to continue to grow and evolve. Yeah. And I think that me, I find it fun now. Like now it's almost like addicting. Like I find personal development and setting goals and accomplishing goals, making myself really uncomfortable, right? Like 4 years ago, when I went on a podcast, I used to get so nervous. Like I would sit down 30 minutes in advance. I'd be super nervous. When I first started doing Facebook Lives like 3 years ago, I thought I was going to wet my pants. I was so nervous. Now I don't even think about it. But because of that, I'm constantly like, ooh, what really freaks me out? A 3-day live event. I've never even done a 1-day. Let's just go for 3. That was last fall. I was terrified, but I loved it. It's like adrenaline. I'm like, what else can I want to be clear too. Like I always apply it to that benefits my audience, right?
Right.
Scary thing that I can push myself towards, that even though it makes me nervous, I know that it will help a lot of people. Yeah. And it does. It's addicting. I don't know if you've experienced that. But
for sure. Yeah. Well, and I think it's one of those things too, when you are doing it for the right intention, which, you talk about your audience, right? Your coach Katie, she always says, she's like, it's Josh, like how you show up will determine the outcome, right? Like how you show up to it will determine the outcome. And just people will feel your energy. The world will literally move to bring your dreams, your goals into fruition if you show up appropriately, right? And so when you go, I'm going to host this 3-day event, or I'm going to do this thing that I've never done before, with the right intention and with keeping, don't get me wrong, you have to be good and you have to do the work and you have to have a plan and all those things have to be in place. But when you do it with the right intention, the magic of it all, that's what's going to show up there. And you can't plan that magic, right? Like the magic is just, you need either, if it's just you, it's the way that you show up. And if it's, your team is involved, how they show up and cultivating that culture and that team, that's where the magic happens. And that's what makes your unique thing separate and different than, everything else, and what will inevitably grow you. I love that. And I think that's scaring. Like once you have that first taste of success, and for me, it was that moment of once I learned how to sell things, I was like, oh, I know how to make money, right? All of a sudden, this became, it's like, my bank account is no longer tied to my boss's paycheck, right? Like
Right.
and so I was like, if I mess up, if I fail or whatever, like, yeah, like I always feared debt growing up, right? Debt was this big, huge, bad, scary thing of, because we grew up with lots of debt and yada, yada, right? But then I was like, well, if I lose $5,000, that's super, super scary. But if I know that I can just go make $5,000, like, yeah, it might be more work, but like, I don't have to be scared of this anymore, right?
Right.
And so once I had that like shift, right? Once I had that shift, it was like this, okay, now I can go out and do things,
Yeah, no, I've completely experienced exactly what you're talking about. I remember, 4, 5, 6 years ago, hearing the Liz Bennies, the Russell Brunsons always talking about this idea of, you guys, making money is easy. And I just remember being like, screw you.
Yeah, screw you. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, who are you? And what the hell are you saying? And now like I'm one of them and I hate it because I always say it. Like when I do say it, first of all, I always quote them because I can hear them saying it. But I think people need to hear that it is possible, therefore it is possible for you. But you have to do, because it really is, it's not, some of it's business, some of it's strategy, some of it's marketing. Like I didn't study any of this stuff in school. Like Russell's books that you can see over here taught me most of what I know, but I do think I am naturally inclined to being a good marketer for sure. But I think until you have that moment that you were talking about, Josh, where you do it and you prove it for yourself and you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like everything changes.
Yeah.
I remember that moment in my own.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is like, you say, hey, I think I'm naturally inclined to be a good marketer, right? Like I'm naturally inclined to be good at people, good with people, right? Like I am I am a natural, like where do I perform best? If you're like of anything, it's like, put me on a stage in front of 1,000 people with no script, last minute, and just give me a topic and say, go, right?
That's
and it's
the same.
And it's like, all right, here we go, baby, let's go, right? Yeah. Whereas some people that would just like freak out, terrified, literally hand me a gun and I would rather kill myself, right? You know what I mean? Like some people are literally that scared of it, right? But what you have to understand though is like, we each have our own thing that we're good at. And so like the beginning stages may be way harder for you, but once you get past that, like the next part might just like soar through. I have this one friend who he was a freelancer for a long time actually, right? And he's like, I can't figure out my niche. I can't figure out my thing or whatever. And like, I'm just not good with people. I'm an introvert, blah, blah, blah. And it took him like 3 years. And then like about that third year, he found the thing that he was good at and he got past that initial hump. And he went from like step 2 to step 10 in like 3 months, where it takes everybody else like 3 years to do that process, right? And it's like, so you got to know that like your strengths are your strengths, and the things that you're bad at, like once you figure out how to go over them, like we each have our own unique thing that makes us good. Like a lot of the things that I'm good at actually prevent me from doing things that I need to be doing. And so I need to learn like those things. So like if you aren't a naturally inclined marketer, if you're not naturally inclined to sales, number one, know that, if there's one thing that I believe about entrepreneurship and success or whatever, I 1,000% believe that smart is a learned skill. Like you can learn how to be smart. And so if you commit and you apply to whatever that thing is, you will eventually get over the hump or the wall of whatever it is that you're facing. And at some point, the 75% of stuff that you're good at that you don't realize is important right now, all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, that's where all this fits in. And you're going to get past that one barrier that sets everything else in motion. It's going to completely change your whole life.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. And also I kind of want to argue with you.
Okay, please.
So here's the deal. Like, I think so one of the things that I talk about a lot is probably not as common among men conversation, but this is a very common in the news, like mainstream conversation of this idea of like, can you have it all, right?
Can you have it all? Yes.
Can you have it all? Yes. And just for the record, I believe you can have it all. However, I think where we've gone wrong as a society is two things. Number one, defining what that means. To me, it's not about the mansion and the Lamborghini. That's not having it all, because I don't want those things. So I think it's knowing what you want, right? Like you have to be really clear on what it is that you want. But I believe you can have a successful career, a healthy, happy marriage, and children that you actually see. Yes. I believe it's possible. I'm living my life that way, right? I think the other big thing is that you can't have it all by doing it all. So that's kind of that. But to go back to your part about you can learn to be smart, it's the same thing. What does being smart mean? Right? Because I know a lot of like really book smart people, like they're very intelligent, but it's almost like their intelligence gets in their way of making strategic decisions that get them closer to where they want to be. So that's where I was feeling argument. I'm like, yeah, cool. You can learn to be smart. Like, meaning, yes, growth mindset. You can learn new things. You can grow and evolve. But like, why? I guess I'm someone who's very big on beginning with the end in mind. Before we even started recording, what did I say to you? I said, hey, who are we talking to? Like, I got to know how to channel this conversation. Like, I always start with the end in mind. So I guess my thing is for everybody listening, like, yeah, oh, you want to argue?
I'm going to argue with you. Of course. I'm a debater. Like, I could argue all day. But like, okay, so I
have no formal training in debate whatsoever, but I did do forensics. So
okay, so perfect. Well, I don't have formal training in debater. I've just done about 500 interviews in my life. So, and I grew up in a very conservative Christian household that was like, you must know why you believe what you believe. You must be able to give an answer for everything. Like,
did I strike a nerve?
No, I mean, okay. I love debating, but my question with you is this: so like, you didn't know what you didn't know when you got started, and you didn't know to start with the end in mind your whole life, and you didn't know what you wanted. Everything you learned those things, and so you got smarter.
I've always been intentional. I do think I've always been intentional of like, this is my goal, and my actions are in alignment with that goal.
Okay, so let me ask you, for the person that is not naturally inclined to live the life that you are, that is not naturally inclined to start with the end in mind, that has no concept of that, do you believe that that's a learnable skill?
Oh, totally.
And so my point in saying is like, I grew up in a household where $12 an hour was a lot of money, where debt was a bad thing, where you needed to save your way to success. You pay your dues, you work 60 years. And that was my entire mindset and frame of mind. I had no marketing skills, no business skills, right. So like,
I'm all for growth mindset that you can change
that you can get.
But I think what got me, Josh, is, are you in the ClickFunnels group? I don't think you are.
Oh, of
in
course
the
I am.
ClickFunnels mastermind. In the mastermind?
Oh, no, I'm not in the mastermind.
I don't know what the
no. Yeah.
I just give Russell Brunson all my money. Let's be serious. Okay. So in one of those groups, I've been in, this is my second year now. Okay. And he's not the only coaching program I've been in. I'm usually in like 3 at a time because I just like to buy my friends, as I like to say. So I'm in this group and there's so much content, as you know, right? Russell, I think he's the best marketer, but he's just like my internet hero, right? So much content, so much stuff to learn, where I agree with what you're saying, that you can always learn new things. I believe in a growth mindset. However, something that I've witnessed so many entrepreneurs doing is learning for the sake of learning without implementation.
For sure.
Right? It's like, oh, I have to consume all this stuff. And it's almost like we hide behind the learning. And I did this early in my journey too, right? Like I spent a whole year watching webinars because I was like, oh, I have to like if I watch that one, then I'm going to learn the one thing that's going to give me the confidence or the permission or the whatever to actually put myself out there and do this damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think we're agree on most of it. I think we might differ on the articulation of it. Right.
I got you. It's semantics.
Yeah.
You learn to be smart. I got you.
Yeah. And like, my thing is like, if you're just learning is not smart. Like learning doesn't make you smart, right? Like
there we go. We go.
You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where I'm like, you're not being smart if you spend 80% of your time learning and 20% of your time doing nothing, and then you know what I'm saying? So it's like, when I say smart is a learnable skill, I had no idea how to spend my time, but I learned how to spend my time properly. I learned where to put my energy properly. And so I think that's my big thing. Now, where I don't think, and maybe we do agree on this, but certainly not how you presented it, I absolutely don't think you can have it all, because I think you can have, but here's the thing, I think we may agree. I believe you can have anything you want, but you can't have it all, right?
That's well, that's my point.
And I think that once you clarify that and said, well, that means like we have to define what that is. I'm like, I interviewed. Do you know who Phil Jones is? He wrote the book Exactly What to Say, Exactly How to Sell, Exactly Where to Start. 7-time author. I mean, like,
oh my goodness.
The dude's 37, I think. He's done 2,500 professional presentations, consulted like $800 billion companies. Like, I mean, like,
So what are you doing, Josh?
I know, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, seriously, I get done with them. And the guy's like, just a super genius, like real smart. And he's like, what people need to understand is that we do have capacity. Like we have a limit to things. And so you have to define what it is that you want. And like, I love what you said there. It's like, yes. And I did a presentation at the Pre-Funnel Hacking Live Mastermind like 2 years ago. And I sat this down. I was like, in order to get somewhere, you have to know where you're going. And in order to build a business, you have to know what you're building. In order to have the life you want, you must first start with defining what it is that you actually do want, right?
We begin with the end of we're talking the same
right,
thing.
We are.
Words.
Right, exactly. But where I think my thing is, and I'm not in any way inferring that this is not true for you at all. I'm just saying, like, to me, it is very important to look at the definition and meaning of words, because I believe words are power and words are important, right? So when people say things that are like, I know what they're saying, but I'm like, if someone were to take you very literally with what you said right there and were to actually go study and look at it, that could be a very bad thing. Not you specifically, but like in general, in a lot of what people say, right? Like, oh yeah, you could totally, but, and I'm guilty of this as well. But like, this came up. Are you into politics at all?
I try not to be.
Okay. So
I was actually a political science major in college.
But yet you stay out of it. Probably very wise, because
I honestly do, because it brings me down, and I have plenty of other things that bring me up and bring me money, and politics is not one of them. And so I try to stay out of it.
And that's beautiful. And I love that. But one of the things that where this really became evident to me was, I love discussing politics. I love discussing worldviews. I love discussing money. Like, controversy could be my middle name. I'm not even kidding you, right? Like, but controversy for the sake of, I have strong opinions, and I believe that my opinions are right. Not because I think I am smart, but because I change my opinions based on facts, right? So I look at the facts, I look at the logic behind everything, and I understand there's this emotional side of it, but I'm like, we have to look at the definition of words. So when people, like, they'll come at me and, like, you know, I'm a pretty big, like, I'm a pretty big libertarian, honestly, but like I've been pretty vocal up until the coronavirus hit. Like, I've been pretty vocal in my support for Trump and like things like that, where some people are like, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nope. If we look at word definitions, if we look at this, and they're like, well, you're not caring about, and they'll spit out, and I will literally take their sentences in front of them. I will break them down. I will go look up the dictionary definition of their words, and I will paste them. And then I will look up the dictionary definitions of my words, and I will paste them. And I will say, now who's really truly right here, right? And I'm like, it has nothing to do with me. This has to actually.
Have you ever changed anyone's mind?
Absolutely, for sure.
Really?
Yes, because I do it in a very loving way. I am not like, I'm right, you're wrong. I say, listen, I am genuinely going to ask a question here. I want to genuinely see your side of the issue here. Then I say, listen, do you want to change your wording? Like, is there a better way that you could communicate this? And typically speaking, when they go and do that, and this typically happens in one-on-one, not arguing on Facebook, but like one-on-one, they'll go and they'll be like, oh, okay, I understand where you're coming from now. It forces them to actually think. So that was my only thing with that, is like, we have to be very careful of the definitions. Like, I was debating one time with, she's not my coach, not Katie, but one of my former coaches. And I was like, should I use the word strategy, or should I use the word framework, or should I use the word system? Like, what best? He's like, just pick one. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, no, it definitely matters, right? Because it matters, because those are three different things.
Different things.
Right. And so, like, you know, so anyway, I do love arguing and discussing and debating things, but
so we'll put half all in quotations as a concept that is discussed, as opposed to the word all, as in owning, having, owning, purchasing, all the things. Are we cool?
Now we're cool. Yes. Look at this. Now we're so good. Now we're so good.
I want to say though, and I don't know that I have done enough research or preparation to actually get into this conversation, but I might need to come back in the future after I have time to do that, because I would love to hear you talk about religion, knowing that your opinions off of facts, whereas religions, I believe, are something man-made, based on feelings and beliefs and 100%. Some historical information. So I'm just, I want to poke the bear a little.
Please do. I did a 3-hour, you actually, if you ever have time and like want to go down a rabbit hole of like listening to me defend my beliefs, sure. Do you know who Nick Robbins is?
No, but you're giving me all these. I need to like write this down.
Okay. So Nick Robbins, he runs an agency, multi-7-figure agency, super smart dude in the medical space. his girlfriend is Sema Erzok. I don't even know how to pronounce her last name, but like ran all of like Steve Larson's ads, Dan Henry's ads for a while, like stuff like that. So like in this world, super smart dude, super genuine, right? But like
I run my own traffic, so that's why I don't know who this.
There you go. So, he and I had a 3-hour long podcast, the episode that we did on God. 3 hours it went, and it was I'm a Christian. I believe in God, but I have a very unique approach to Christianity and God, right? Like I am not your, hey, go to church on Sundays and read your Bible and memorize your stuff and you're going to get to heaven and do good. Like I'm very relationship based. I'm very much like, I think God speaks to everybody differently. I'm not 100% convinced that the Bible is 100% true because of translation. Like I have a very interesting approach to it, but he, on the other hand, believes in some form of spiritual being, perhaps up there, but it would be more agnostic approach to things. Anyway, so it's a fascinating thing. If you want to hear me discuss my beliefs,
I'd love to.
I will say this. When it comes to religion, you use logic and you use facts based on as much as you can. And then there are things that you have to accept by faith. And when you accept things by faith, I believe that in religion, there are 4 key questions that you need to answer. And if you look at those 4 key questions, if you can answer those 4 key questions, I believe that you have then gone and been able to, interpret what is ultimately going on best in the world. And so I believe that while no religion we can know truly is true or wrong, I actually know that, right? The reason that I believe in Christianity, the reason I believe in the God that I do, is because I believe that my worldview or my belief in my religion best answers these 4 questions, because I believe we're the only religion that has these 4 questions answered in congruence with one another, where they do not contradict one another. And so when you do that like that, so I actually have a very logical approach to something where I know that it is accepted by faith. I can't prove these things, and I choose to accept that because of a logical element of that. So anyway, yeah,
that was nice. That was good. I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah, you'll have to. It's super good. It's like one of those things where I'm super passionate about knowing. I believe that you have to learn how to think. You have to know what you believe, and you have to know why you believe it. I don't care what you believe. I truly don't. If you're an atheist, great. But you better be able to tell me why you believe what you believe. And if you can defend that, if you can back that up, and I think the same is true in business. I don't care what you teach, but you better know, there better be a reason that you're teaching that. There better be a reason that you're doing things the way that you're doing things. Make sense?
Yeah. Totally. I love it. I'm on board with this. I love it.
All right. Okay. So I want to kind of shift back into the business world a little bit here, and like kind of back to what you're doing. How old are your children?
My children, we've had 2 Corona birthdays. Our 3rd will be on Monday. So now 8, 6, and 3.
Okay, 8, 6, and 3. So you're right in the thick of all of that. So I have 6 younger siblings, and I have one older brother who passed away last year. So I'm the oldest living now, and it's been interesting to me to see how, just kids in general interact with entrepreneurial parents. So how do you teach your children about like business and what you do specifically? Like, I know it's still at a young age, but like, how do you see that? Because like, do you like, hey, you need to be entrepreneurs, you need to do this, or like whatever, or like, do you teach them more of like a framework of like, hey, you have a choice? Like, how do you go and teach what you do to them?
Yeah. So there's like a couple quick things I think I'll touch on. Number 1, my 8-year-old daughter has read my book. So that's kind of cool. So she definitely
is it kind of cool or is it kind of intimidating?
No, it's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
Like,
okay.
It's kind of cool.
Okay.
Like, I think she thinks I'm cool.
Ooh.
And like I can't try because like, as soon as a parent tries to be cool, what's so interesting, and I know you're not a parent yet, Josh, but like, do you just remember being about 7, 8 years old and looking at your parents and being like, they're just old? Like, not like your parents old, like they're like really old, but like your parents were old, right? And I'm like, my kids look at me and think I'm old, but I'm like, I still got it. Like, I still wear the same size I did before all 3 of you were born. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I think I look good and I still got it. Like, I can't stay up late, but like, I'm relatively, like, I'm with it, sort of, probably not. But anyway, like, it's so fascinating because it just goes to show that all through life, business and otherwise, like, all we have is our own perspective, right? Like, that's all we've got. And like, I thought my parents were old, but now to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, my parents are so young and they're like in their mid 60s. But I know my kids look at them and think they're ancient, like to them, like, because I remember thinking my grandparents were ancient. So perspective's everything. I do think my daughter thinks I'm cool. So since we've been homeschooling in Katy ISD where we live, the teachers have been pre-preparing lessons and putting them on YouTube. So they're not meeting with their teachers live, but they're still kind of teaching the lesson. Nice. And then it's up to the parent to help them implement the lesson and do the homework, right? So because we've been on YouTube a lot, and like you mentioned, I have a YouTube show. So what's been happening is every time my kid's lesson ends and it goes to the checkerboard of the next video you should watch, my face is popping up, sometimes multiple times. And my daughter keeps seeing it and she's always commenting. And so it's not really a complex. I don't think it's bad. I don't think she fully understands what it means. So this is where the parenting comes in, right? Like we need to answer their questions and kind of groom them and manage expectations and all of that. Is like she's obsessed with being famous. Like because I think she thinks I'm famous. And in my little corner of the internet of a Facebook group of 27,000 people, I might be, but in the world, I'm not really a big deal, right?
Right.
But to her, she sees mom's face on YouTube, which she would love to go watch if she had permission, which she doesn't, right? And so I'm a big deal. So that's the framework we're working in with her. I would say my 6 and 3-year-old don't really care. They know I work from home. They know we have boundaries. Like when the doors are closed, I get the office. When the doors are closed, like don't come in. Although the 3-year-old, sometimes that's hard for her. She's 3.
Right.
You know, I think here's the deal. And any parents watching know this. Kids do what we do, not what we say.
Yeah.
So like they do what we do. So for example, my older 2 will sit and make bracelets, or they will color cards or whatever. Like on the weekend when my husband are like, you guys need to go play. Like we gave you each other. We made more than one of you to go play with each other, like entertain each other. That's why you exist. Right. And then like an hour later, we will find them on the curb of the driveway selling them. So they're definitely like, they're doing a lot of the things I did when I was little. I don't discourage it. I wouldn't say I encourage it. I try to manage it. I don't try to control it. I try to manage it. So for example, like sometimes Daphne my oldest will be so excited. She'll just like run through the house and grab some stuff. And like some of it's like trash. And she'll go to the curb with her poster she made of like 25 cents. And so then I'll come out and I'll talk to her and I'll be like, hey, as a business owner, you need to make sure that you're selling things that people will actually want. So let's talk about how can you create something more valuable. So we've started the conversations. I mean, knowing Catherine, who we spoke about at the beginning of this show, like I would love when Daphne's maybe 11, 12, like a few more years, get her a little bit older. I would love to get her in CF design school. Yeah. Like I think just giving her some of those foundational skills and showing her that she would be capable. You know, someone else I love who I think you may have had on the show before is Allison Prince.
Yeah. And by the way, we've had Liz Benny on the show as well. Liz Benny and Allison Prince. So yeah.
Yeah, link to all these episodes. I'm sure they're amazing. So one of Allison's big things, obviously, and one of her big selling points is like, my kids paid for college doing this thing I teach. Like that has definitely planted some seeds because I was very a product of society. Yeah. I worked very hard. I was like top 10 in my class in high school. I worked my tail off. I got good grades. I did all the things you're supposed to do. Yeah. Right. Where did it land me? It landed me working overtime almost every day with a job that paid me $30,000 a year and being pissed off every day by the time I got home from school, being overwhelmed, or I worked at a school. That didn't make sense probably. I was working at a school. So by the time I got home from school, a $30,000 a year paying job, my family got my leftovers and my husband came dead last. Self-care was non-existent and I felt like crap all the time. I felt guilty. Yeah. That's where that got me. So it's hard in my own experience not to want to send my kids on a different path, but I'm also a product of my parents. And going back to religion, just to tie this whole thing together, I didn't grow up in a religious family. And a part of that from my parents came from both of them as children had it shoved down their throats, like pretty aggressively. And so, you know, as parents, we kind of do either like what we liked that our parents did, or we do the opposite.
Right.
So like we didn't go to church growing up because my parents thought that it should be something that you choose, that you learn about and you make a decision and you choose to do it, not something that's forced on you.
Yeah.
And again, just that's where I came from.
Right.
Spoiler, I was a theology minor in college. So you can tell I'm like, I had to learn about politics and theology because we just didn't talk about this stuff. I'm like, somebody educate me, right? And so I feel the same way about entrepreneurship. I want my children to know what's possible. I want them to see the path that I ultimately chose. And my husband's pretty entrepreneurial as well. I want them to believe that they're capable of doing it, because at least working with women, that's what I see holding a lot of people back. They don't actually have the confidence that they can do it.
Yep. Nope.
And
100%.
those are the things that's what I want to equip my children with. And if whether they decide to go to college or not, we've got 529s or whatever those are, just to be smart in case they go. But if they don't, 5 years ago, I would have told you that that was not acceptable. Even as a parent, I would have said that, like, of course they're going to college. But now I'm a little like, I don't know. I feel like we could save a couple $100,000. I'm just saying. So ultimately, I think as a parent, you want your kids to be happy. You want them to be successful, but I think success has different meanings. And to me, success doesn't just mean I want my kids to grow up and have multi-million-dollar companies. It means I want them to have a happy balance between being able to take care of themselves and provide for themselves and live a good full life and have a family if they choose, and all of those things. So it's complicated, I guess, is my short answer.
Yeah. No, that's super fascinating. So I did not go to college. I started one semester, and about 2/3 of the way through, I stood up in the middle of class because my professor was yelling at me and was like, "You're here because you want to be successful in life." And I was like, "No, that's not." And he's like, "Then why are you here?" And I was like, I have no idea. So I got up and stood up. I said I quit, walked out, canceled all my classes, and left, and never went back. So like that's my college experience, right? So like,
I admire that though, honestly. Like when I think back, and I hate that I have to think back to when I was in college because apparently it was longer ago than I'd like to admit. We got a decade, it's good. But like when I think back, I don't think, and it wasn't a lack of confidence that wouldn't have had me do that. I think I still truly believed that it was a requirement to get to, like, I really think I was that indoctrinated in the belief system that I could go financially and educationally, therefore I should go and not just go, but go and be involved and get good grades and know my counselor. I mean, I'm kind of an all-in high achieving person. And I think that's benefited me in business, but I had a lot of growing and developing to do, I think, in my 20s to get to a path that was my path, not traditional path.
Yeah. And I think when we talked about this a lot on the show before, but I think what you alluded to there is like most people don't know that they don't have to go. Like it's like not even an option. It's like, oh wait, you didn't go to college? Like if you didn't go to college, you were like a poor income person that like couldn't afford it, right? Like, but like if you could afford it or had the ability to go, if you wanted a good life, you go to college. And like,
I think it really is. I think that's what I believed.
Right.
Honestly.
And that's what I think most people believe in society because we've been programmed for that way. I thankfully had parents who were, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I disagree with my parents on a tremendous amount of things. Well, maybe not tremendous amount on a lot of things. Right. But like, props to my parents for doing a lot of things right. Like my parents instilled really good values into me, values of hard work, values of being honest, values of being like ethical to people, right? Like really good things. And number two, I'm sure my parents were worried sick about me when I, left college or had no idea what I was going to do with my life and just trying to figure things out or whatever. But like they were supportive and they were like, hey, look, like you don't have to go to college, but like just have a plan, right? Like, and we'll love you no matter what, but like, hey, maybe you should think about like what you're going to do if this is not the route that you're going to take, right? And my parents didn't have money to send us to school, right? So it was all on our own dime. And so it was like one of those things where we're like, hey, we're not paying for it, so we're really not going to tell you what to do with your life and your money. And thankfully it worked out, right? And like, so I think that like teaching your children how to make decisions and how to interact with people and just like core good values of being a good human being are like the things. And, for me, how to make moral decisions and think for themselves. Like, I think that's where we need to focus on. And I think college, I mean, I've been pretty vehemently opposed to college for most entrepreneurs. I think college fails entrepreneurs. But like, I think college is just like, if you treat college like an online course and you go, oh, look, I could choose a bad college and get a terrible degree. Or I could choose a great college and get a great degree, depending upon what I want to do. You got to first ask yourself the question of what the heck do you actually want to do with your life, right? And if college makes sense, then great, go for it. But like,
and I think that's a big problem in this country that you can even compare to other places in the world, where there's like the gap years where you join the military or you serve the country in some way. Like, I had no idea at 18 years old what the hell I wanted to do with my life. Like, not even close. Like, I was like, maybe I'll go to law school because like, all I know is going to school. Literally, that was like where the poli-sci came from. Was I was interested. I really it was something I thought I could study for 4 years and not get sick of, which was true. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, well then like, maybe I'll go to law school. Because I don't know what comes next. So why not just go to more school?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, and so I think there's a lot of what I will be fascinated to see genuinely is with coronavirus and not knowing if schools are going to open up in the fall. One of the few news things I have kind of been aware of is what's happening with enrollment at certain institutions. And I know a lot of colleges have been going out of business recently as a result of this, right? And this change to going online, and can they handle it? And I will be interested to see if this pandemic changes culturally, at least in the United States, the number of people who choose to go to college.
I certainly hope so.
I do too.
Like, man,
I really do.
It makes me so mad how many people get screwed when they go to college.
Okay, so can I just marketer thing? Because you'll like this. Okay, so I sell a 997 course because I'm a product of Russell Brunson, and I have
as we all are. God bless Russell Brunson.
Yes, a 997 course, and it's amazing. And you know what? It changes women's lives. It really, really does.
Right.
But here's the deal. One of the things I get on my ads, as all of us do who have $1,000 course, is like, this is so expensive, or this is absolutely ridiculous. This costs way too much, right? All these things, which I know is where they're at and their perspective, whatever. But every time it happens, Josh, the first thing I want to write back is expensive compared
to what? Compared to what?
Your university. I'm like, you think I'm an evil internet marketer? Universities and colleges are some of the most manipulative marketers on the face of the earth.
And like, you can't even declare bankruptcy. You're stuck with it for your life. It's $100,000. It's interest that accrues. Like, we're like, hey, pay $997, and if it was a scam in the first 14 days, guess what? We even have your money back, right? Like, it's like, what?
I don't get to talk about this. I don't get to talk about that, that little thing very often. But it's infuriating, right? I'm like, listen, I can teach you how to make between $30,000 and $100,000 a year, and you give me $1,000. Or you can go spend $100,000 and you'll make $30,000.
Right. Exactly.
I hate the play, I hate the game. Like, come on.
Right. I'm curious. Okay, so since you brought up the ad comments, I have to ask, right?
Yeah.
Because okay, so you're like blonde, good-looking, younger, like okay, so I'm friends with. Well, no, but I'm friends with like Rachel Peterson, right? Who she talks about all the time, like how much hate she would get on her ads, right? Because she's a blonde, younger woman, right? So do you experience a lot of hate and stuff on your ads for being that? Or like, hey, you're a floozy, hey, you're a whatever, or not really?
No, but I only market to women. So I'm really curious who's hating on her, if it's men or women. I don't know. I've never talked to Rachel about it.
Yeah.
No, mine mostly is once they watch the webinar, it's amazing how many people are at such a place in their life. Cause I know it's about them, not about me. And
100%.
And it honestly, it used to hurt. It did. Like when I first started, like you don't build a business thinking people are going to talk shit about you.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Not really prepared for that. And so when it first started, luckily at that time I was still coaching with Liz Benny. So she lifted me up and gave me perspective, and it was great. But now I usually end up feeling really sad for them. Like it makes me feel sad because I'm like in such a place that I can't help them right now. They're not ready to receive it. And I hate that because I know that they're going to stay stuck. Yep. So now I usually just like, it makes me feel really sad, but I get lots of apparently I have like a really common face. Like, what were they called? Like the doppelganger, whatever.
Oh, the doppelgangers, yeah.
Daily, someone tags someone else is like, oh my God, I thought this was you, like every day. And so I will also tell you, so I work with moms. like 99% of my students are moms. And so my best performing ads all the time, to the extent that I don't even test it anymore, is a makeup-less selfie with my children. They don't need to see me polish. They don't, like, that does not work for my audience, because they need to know. And I mean, I'm like literally in jean shorts and a tee, like, this is who I am. Right. And so there's nothing disingenuous about it. Honestly, it's easier for me. And so I think just because it's such a casual pick, I don't know if it just, anyway, but so I get that a lot. Most of mine has to do, and it hurts because I know it's not true, it has to do with taking advantage of people. Like, if you really wanted to help moms, why wouldn't you give us this for free, is what I hear the most.
Yeah.
And it sucks because it's like, in a week, the vast majority of what I do is free. Right. Like, I pour my blood, sweat, and tears, and it costs money to produce my YouTube show. I have a podcast. Like, I go live on my Facebook group every week. I spend an hour every day answering comments. Like, I'm an open book. There's no secrets. Will my 997 course be a layout that gets you from A to Z faster? Yes, that was intentional. That's why I built it. But like, I'm not going to not answer your questions. And so I think it, on a personal level, it hurts because it's like, if you spent 5 seconds looking into this and not just coming here to hate, you would see that actually everything you needed was right in front of you for free.
Yep.
But that's not where they're at. And so I don't get a whole lot of like, you blonde skank or whatever. Like, no, nobody really said that.
well, that's good. That's good. So you have to
apparently I look like Julia Roberts in Facebook ads.
There you go.
That's and no one had ever told me that before. So women are usually very nice about my appearance, which I guess is good. But I've been told that I'm a pretty heartless person. So that's they go straight for the
heartless. Oh man, I get
good.
Called heartless all the time. People think I am just the devil when I talk about, because I'm a big personal responsibility person, right? I'm like, yo,
I am too.
Right?
I think that's that conservatism, by the way, like being a poli-sci major, like that's kind of our belief system, is that, because I share that with you in terms of that, like, not I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal.
Right. No, right. I know.
The purpose of government, like, we're going into political theory, you guys, but I'm the same as you. Like, show up. It's what we talked about earlier. How are you successful in entrepreneurship or freelancing? Be resourcewful. Have a willingness to figure it out. No one's going to drop $1 million business in your lap. It's not going to happen. Like,
well, and my point with always with it is that, guys, like, if you just take personal responsibility for your life, like, you actually can do anything that you want. It's like the most freeing thing ever when you like go and one of my first podcast episodes that I ever did was called "Everything Is Your Fault." And I approach every problem in my life, like anything, I'm like, this is my fault, right? Like, even if it's not my fault, I'm like, if I approach it as it's my fault, then I give myself the power to change it, right? But if I go, this is somebody else's problem. It's somebody else's problem that I'm broke. It's somebody else's problem that I am in a bad relationship. It's somebody else's problem that I don't have a successful business, that I'm depressed, whatever. Then you literally rob yourself of the ability to change your situation. And like, I know a lot of people don't believe or realize that they have the power to change the situation, but if, like, let's even pretend that let's assume you were right. Like, being negative about it, blaming somebody else about it, actually doesn't change anything. So like, why not give yourself a chance that maybe there's a possibility? And so I obviously come from a very like libertarian, much like the government shouldn't be handing out bailouts, unemployment shouldn't be a thing for very long, blah, and everyone's like, you heartless, you know what I mean? Like, blah. And I'm like, nope, I actually genuinely believe that this is best for you. And oh, by the way, I put out literally 3 podcast episodes a week of free content to help you actually go take personal responsibility for your life. So anyway, I want to be It super is. I want to be respectful of your time. I want to ask one more question before to go to rapid fire questions. Is that cool?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah, there's rapid fire questions at the end. It gets super exciting. Isn't it great?
Cool. I hope I can think fast enough. I've had 3 children. It's very hard.
It's like easy questions about like get us to know you, like just that. And then there's one like super deep question at the end that you're gonna be like, where the heck did that come from? So prepare.
I'm so excited.
Okay. So what's next for you / like where can people find out about you? Like, I want to give you some time to basically be like, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's what's next, here's why you should follow me, get excited, like, and then drop links and tell us where we can
do it like that.
You can just do this the whole time. Yeah, just like that.
Next for me is literally when we get done, I'm jumping in an RV that's sitting out my window right there that we bought like right before coronavirus started, because we are supposed to be going, still don't know, on a 2-month around the United States national tour.
Country tour, yeah.
Summer, yes, with our 3 children, because why the hell not? So my whole focus this year, thank you. My whole focus this year is actually more on family than my business. I'm just in a really great place. I love all of my products. I love all of my students. Everything is going well. We have really good systems in place. We have a couple new things going on, but again, I have built a business to revolve around a life that I want to live.
Yes.
That intention that we were talking about earlier. So things that are new, Free Mama Radio launches Monday, which will probably have already happened when this happens. So go check out Free Mama Radio on iTunes wherever you listen to podcasts.
Is it freemamaradio.com?
freemamaradio.com will get you to all the links where you can go watch it. Yep. The best place to hang out with me and connect is inside my Facebook group. There's over 27,000 moms, women. We do have a few cool men in there who can hang and be called mama every now and again. I'm incredibly active in this group. This is my family. So facebook.com/group/the Free Mama Movement. I do have a book. You can find it on Amazon. Go nuts. It's amazing. It is, if I died today, I would really miss my family, obviously, and I hope they'd miss me, but I would feel like I got to say everything I wanted to say.
Amazing.
That's how much I love this book. It is my everything. But I think I talked about my course already. I do some higher end coaching stuff, but none of that's open right now. So I'm really sorry, but if you're interested, you can get on the wait list. There's your scarcity. Just come hang out with me. I really am a lady of the people, as Catherine says. I just, much like you, Josh, I am a raging extrovert. I love to talk. I
couldn't imagine that.
I know. I think honestly, we met for all of 30 seconds. I think it was right before Tony Robbins went on stage.
Yes, but I could just feel your energy. So
yes,
connected.
But like in a 30-second interaction, we were both like, oh my God, hi. We should know each other. We should talk. Let's be on Facebook. Okay, bye. See ya. Like, it was super high energy. It was awesome.
Yes.
That's the best. Come hang out with me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I've got Free Mama TV on YouTube. That's more of our how-tos. So if you are a newer entrepreneur or freelancer, that's a really great place where literally I put all my best content for free. Like, it's just right there. Just go learn. Don't be lazy. Just go learn it. And then the last thing I guess I'll say that I didn't talk about is I have an army of over 2,000 virtual assistants, graphic designers, copywriters,
wow.
hundreds of which I have worked with directly. So we have a matchmaker program. You can go to the freemamamatchmaker.com. I can either assist you with that process and helping you find your match and learning how to outsource, or I have a completely free directory, and you can find the link on that page, and you can just go swim through some of our amazing free mamas. These women are highly, highly trained and just ready to help you grow your business.
And what was that called?
You can go to the freemamamatchmaker.com.
The freemamamatchmaker.com. Guys, we'll link the Free Mama Radio, Free Mama Matchmaker, the Facebook group, everything down below in the description. Unless, of course, you're watching on Facebook, then go to iTunes or YouTube, and it'll all be down there because that's where you need to go.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. First question is, what is your favorite airline to fly?
Southwest.
Why? They don't have first class. That's just, don't get me wrong, I like them, but also.
I like control, I think, and just let me sit where I want to sit and get on when I want to get on and I don't know. I love Southwest.
All right. We're not going to fight it. We're not going to fight it. We're not going to fight it. I love it. Okay.
Airport.
Yeah. Okay. So, favorite. Okay. Let me say.
I really threw you off. You're upset about the first class.
No. Material object. I used to ask the question of if you could buy any car, what car would you do? But I've changed it because we started interviewing all these rich people that already have all their dream cars, right? And so I was going to
say, I already drive the car.
Right. And that's exactly the problem we kept running into. I interviewed Alex Sharvin earlier, and I was like, I asked him the question. He's like, well, I'm rich, so I have a 10,000 square foot house and every single car I could possibly want. So I was like, all right, let me rephrase the question. So anyway, one material, like a dream material thing that's incredibly expensive, like house, car, thing, watch, necklace, sunglasses, anything. What is one dream thing that you would spend a lot of money on?
Well, we just bought the RV. That's a lot of money. So we just bought the RV, which was awesome. So that's my most recent purchase. The next thing, here's the deal. I'm at a place in my life and my business where we've had the epiphany we talked about earlier, right? I now believe making money is easy. That's a very huge
epiphany
mindset shift as a human, where you're all of a sudden like, not only do I believe I can do this, but I actually believe I can do this with ease. Like
yes.
this is good, right? And so as a result of that, now my new obsession is how do I get the money I have to work?
Nope, you're not allowed to do that. Nope. No, it has to be a material thing. It cannot make you money. It has to be a splurge
well, I was
thing.
gonna say we want a beach house, but like,
okay.
It's gonna be a rental property.
Nope, that doesn't count. Like, hey,
I am not very materialistic.
I am your friend. I am worth $10 billion, and I'm gonna come and buy you anything that you want in life, and it cannot be cash producing.
Okay, I literally, like, my mom gave me an Amazon gift card for my birthday. Like, I'm the worst. And I'll probably use it on my family. I'm the worst. Oh
okay,
God.
Next question. We're gonna go
sorry.
to. No, that's all right.
I'm the worst.
That's
you guys,
all right.
I wear like $10 t-shirts every day.
I'm
just not super materialistic.
And same.
My glasses are from Target. Like, I don't know. I don't care.
And same, but also if somebody where $10 billion came, I'd be like, I'll take that Lamborghini Aventador convertible. Thank you very much. Right? Like, so.
But I can't buy it for. I'll get one of those for my husband. That would make him.
All right, perfect. There, we'll call that a win. Can
I pick a trip? Here's the deal.
There you go. Trip. Perfect.
Perfect. So there's this cruise that goes from like Dubai all the way around like India and all the way up to Japan. It takes months. When coronavirus, like 5 years from now, like we got to be way past this stuff. It'll probably be something else by then. But anyway, like that is my dream trip, and I will take it someday. Okay, so we'll do that.
We'll do the dream trip. All right, okay. We're gonna try to get through these faster than 4 minutes per answer, but let's continue on here. All right. If you had the chance to go to outer space, you get to come back. Would you do it?
Is it guaranteed I get to come back?
Well, I mean, I guess there's always a risk that something might go wrong, but like, yes, like it's a planned trip, 7 days up and back.
If my children were grown, right now I would not.
Okay. I respect that. Okay. What is one bucket list item? I think you've probably already answered this, but what is one bucket list thing that you want to do in your life that you have not yet done?
Besides the cruise, I want to go on a hot air balloon. I know that's really simple, but I really do.
All right. Hot air balloon. All right. Last question for you. This is a deep one. All right.
Okay.
Fast forward to the end of your life. You're on your deathbed. All of your money, success, fame, impact, everything is gone, wiped from the face of the earth. You're nobody. However, every single person that you have touched or affected, either directly or indirectly in your entire life, you get to leave them with one final message and word of advice. Cement your legacy. What would it be?
Oh God. Okay. Well, like, way to get me upset, first of all. My book doesn't exist. That's why I wrote a book, Josh.
You have one final message. Sorry.
If I couldn't leave them with the whole book. Okay. Because I don't have 4 minutes, because it's a rapid fire question and I can't think of my own quote fast enough. I will leave you with a quote that I recite 5 different times inside of my book. And that is Henry Ford: whether you think you can or think you cannot, you're right. To me, that is the quote that has changed my life. It has given me belief in myself to take the actions to be able to live this life that I love so much.
I love it. I love it. Words of wisdom from Lauren Golden, everybody. If you just believe it, you can do it. Whatever you believe, it should be true. Lauren, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on.
I had wow, mind blown. It was awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Were you expecting this type of podcast? What were you expecting?
I don't think I've ever talked about religion or politics on a podcast ever. And I don't think the drugs was on the part we recorded, but that was funny for me too.
Okay, guys, for context, we didn't really talk about drugs. All I said was, she said, what's the topics? I said, we talk about everything. We've even had conversations about psychedelic drugs. So I don't really know if we had a drug conversation here. But
my response was, I would have very little to participate in that conversation. No, this was super fun. I love when we can think outside the box and share stuff that not everybody else is asking. I love it.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on. Lauren Golden, everybody. Guys, we'll link all of our stuff down below. As always, hustle, hustle. God bless. Do not be afraid to think different, because those of us that think different are going to be the ones that change the world. I love you all, and I will see you on the next episode. Take it easy, fam. Peace.